Hey, so this is Miss Nelson, and I am just going to share with you how to do a a watercolor crayon Halloween drawing. So we have these watercolor crayons, and the way these work is they work in a couple of different ways. They basically are, they're just watercolor in a wax kind of base. So if you put the color down on the paper and then you use a brush to get the different, to like spread it out like paint, that's how it works. So I just realized I need to go grab a brush and water, so I will be right back. Okay, so you're gonna want to have some water and a paper towel or a rag, and your brush, watercolor paper, and the watercolor crayons. So we're gonna start, and I'm gonna set these aside so I can do more of the paper. Start them off by just drawing. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off with the pumpkin. So the way to draw the pumpkin is, you can have them draw just a big oval, but I draw it with a little dip in the middle on both sides. So it looks like this. Okay. So once you get the shape, have them kind of go over the outline again. I actually made this pumpkin a little fat, but that's okay. I don't know what I was thinking. I was just like, wee. All right. It's just one of those big pumpkins that spreads out on the ground, and that's all right. So there you go. So by having this dip in the top and the bottom, it allows like for some depth in the way it looks. And then we're just going to take the same crayon and do these curved lines like a C shape. And then do another one and just outline, just making sure it's outlined. And then go the other way, and then the other way. And if there's another one that'll fit, we're just going to do one more. Okay, and then have them go back over the line. All right, so after that, what I'm going to have them do, or what you should have them do, is make patterns in each one. So here's the challenge with watercolor crayons, is if they use a lot of water, the patterns will disappear. If they use a little, they'll stand out. So it's kind of up to you, but I think that for me, I would just have them do like stripes. Something that fills up the space, but where they're not coloring in the whole thing. So they can do stripes. With orange, and then skip one with the same color, do stripes again. And they can do a different pattern. I like to leave some stuff up to them. So a pattern here, skip, pattern here, skip, and then do it again. I'm doing stripes because it's faster, just for the sake of time here in the video. But when you're doing this with them, you can make it take longer. All right, then they can choose another warm color. So we haven't talked about warm color in class yet, but warm colors would be yellow, red, pink, and orange, and a little bit like reddish purple, but I wouldn't go there. So I'm gonna do orange. I mean pink, sure. And maybe I'll do like stripes or like polka dots, just something to kind of fill it in with color. And you want to go around the outline again. Okay, and then do that in each of the three. I'm doing really fast dashes here. Okay, when there's like a tight corner, they can just color it and then outline. Again, I'm going super fast just for the sake of time. Okay, so this way they have a color in each of the sections, and they've got it so that when they do go over it with the brush, it fills it with color. Okay. So after they've done patterns, and I have talked to them, I think, about patterns, but you can explain patterns as a repeated design. And then they can take their brown and just make a little stem. I like to make the stem kind of like a little bit curved there. And right here, you can make an oval or a circle for the top of the stem. So it's two curved lines and then an oval connecting them. And again, they can fill that with a pattern. Or just make little dashes inside of it. Okay, so after that, I'm just going to take a dark green. Most of the packages, they probably have two different colors of green. Actually, I'm going to go for a brighter one. So here's where they can add a lot of variety. So you can have them draw leaves, and then the leaves can also have a line in the middle, and then have line stripes again that come out from the line. Okay, but I want to mix it up a little bit and add a little bit of blue on one side so that the color there is different on each side there. Okay, and there's different ways to draw leaves. So you can do this kind of leaf that just has a curved line coming out and another curved line like that and meeting, or you can have them, you can show them this and then have them attempt, you know, sort of more of a spiky style of leaf. And then you can do the same thing. Oops, I just broke it. You can do a line, do the textures, patterns. You can even fill it in on one side with just blue because it'll look like a shadow. The next thing is, so we're going to add details afterwards. So right now we're just doing like the big design. I think it's fun to add a leaf that it smashed. So when you put the pumpkin down, it like smashed this leaf right here. So, and that way you have green on three sides, which is nice. And then because this is in a shadow, oops, you can add some blue right there, like that. So right now they're just laying down the lines and the patterns, lines and patterns. They're not coloring anything in yet. You just want to make sure to tell them that, because some kids will just want to color right away because that's what they're used to, and it can be really hard to like have that anticipation for that it'll look different later, and it's a really important part of art. So so yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and add the ground. I'm just gonna add, so you want the ground, you don't want the ground to be up here and you don't want it to be way down here. The pumpkin would be sitting on the ground, so we can put the ground kind of coming out right about there. Now, to make my ground even, this is a really important skill too, is to take the line and then lift, go across, and then continue, touch down and continue the line. So it looks like it's a continuous line and the pumpkin's over the top of it. And then I'm going to add some brown texture here. Okay, so now the next step, so step one is to draw the pumpkin and the ground and the leaves using lines and patterns. The next step is how to watercolor in a way that I always teach them this every year. Watercolor is very gentle. So we are going to have a paper towel here. And what I have them do is I tell them swish, tap, and then if they have extra water, to just go like that, but there's not extra water on my brush. So then I'm just going to come in and I'm going to start going over the lines with a paintbrush. And then as I'm going over the lines, it starts to make a lighter color, and I can smooth that out over the whole thing. So each time I go to a new section, I rinse my brush, but I don't stab it in. I always tell them, be very gentle with the brushes. Rinse it, tap, extra, and then go back into the next section and do the same thing. So we're going to go over the lines and then spread it out. Okay, doesn't that look cool? All right, you can't really see it because of the light. There we go. I cover it up so you don't see the shine. Okay, so I'm going to keep doing that. And they're going to notice, and you can point out that where they drew more, there's more pigments, there's more paint to paint with. So when they drew more, there was more paint. The other thing that's a challenge sometimes is that if they use too much water, it starts to go everywhere. And you can just take a clean part of the napkin and just blot it a little bit. There we go. All right. So I'm going to do the same thing with the pumpkin, and then I'm going to come back and show you the next step. So I'm just going to pause it again. Okay. I'm going to resume recording from here because I just want to make it, you really want to tell them that they want to go over their lines on the edges. So because they colored in really dark there, and that'll pick up and spread a lot of the color. Okay, so they want to make sure to go over those lines. It also blends them and makes them nice and dark and pretty. Okay, so remind them to clean the brush between each color. And it's okay if the pink and the orange blend together. That's kind of the idea, is that you can mix colors this way with the water. So sometimes even some of the green will come down in it, and that's okay too. Okay, so I'm just going to continue here really fast. And again, you're getting a lot of shine. I can fix that. Actually, that's a lot better. But as they're painting, they want to make sure not to overlap. Like you don't want to take the brush that has blue and dip it in the orange because it'll just spread out. See, it'll just get in there. Actually, that didn't spread out that bad, but yeah, it can really go directions I don't want it to. But the other thing to tell about watercolors, it doesn't always do what you want it to, and that's part of what makes watercolor so cool. So now we're going to do the background, and I usually leave just a tiny bit of white so that I don't have the colors bleed into each other. So I'm just using the water to grab that ink up. There we go, that bled in, and that's okay. It kind of looks cool when it does, you just don't want it too much. Again, watercolor is a lot about like just kind of being like letting things happen. If they accidentally do, just like go with it. It's okay. Okay. So I've got my pumpkin and my leaves and everything, but now you'll notice some of the details are still there, but some of them have washed in with the water. So it's kind of cool. So you can actually take the oil pastel or the watercolor crayons and just draw in the wet area, but you want to make sure not to smear with your hand. So you have to hold the paper down and kind of come on top of it. And just, you can draw right on top of the water, and it actually makes it very creamy and pretty neat. So I felt like this area needed more orange, so I'm coming in and doing polka dots right on top. And if it's wet, it really picks it up. If it's starting to dry, it's a little harder, and that's okay too. Okay. So you can add details that way right on top of the wet paint. Sometimes it works. Usually it works. Sometimes it doesn't pick it up. There we go. That's better. So I would encourage them to go back in and add some details. And then another thing that I really like to do, here's another thing that you can do. If they want to put a sky on it, up at the top, you can just lightly color. I'm being very careful not to smear this. Oops, I just accidentally smeared it as I said that. You just go in and you lightly color at the top. You can even have them do this beforehand if you want, but in my experience, it can get to be a lot for them to have all of the paper colored. like they'll have the watercolor all touching, and it gets to be like a big muddy mess. So you can just lightly go over some really light coloring to get the blue. Just do it on the top and then kind of pull it down. This might be something that the second graders can wrap their heads around, but not the first graders. You can also go like this and just kind of pull the blue down. So you're making like a sky. Okay. If we had a big line, like flat brush, it'd be even better, but that's okay. And another technique that you can use is even just painting with water. Okay, and then we're just going to add some grass in the background here on top of the water. So you can just draw on the wet paper where we painted with water, and it looks really cool. So you can really color it in. You can add some grass on top of where it's wet. So that's 3 different techniques. Okay, so I would have them do the patterns and then paint for the pumpkin. A light amount of coloring at the top and then blending the blue out all over the place for the sky, and then paint water and add details in the background. So I've got some, I want to make those cute little curly cues that go on. So I'm going to paint water around this on the paper. And then I'm going to take my green and I'm going to add those cute little curly cues. It's really fun. If they get the paper wet and then draw on top of it, it's super fun. Even where it's not wet, if the crayon is still a bit wet, it kind of picks it up. And you can even overlap, like you can draw those right on top of the pumpkin. All right, so there is the magnificent, wonderful pattern pumpkin. And you know what? What if I want to add more stripes in my leaf? I can just draw right on top of it. Just boom. You know? It's all good. So it's a lot of fun. And there it is. So I hope that you enjoy that image. You can, with a little bit of adaptation, you can do the same thing with a bat and give his wings sections and make his wings a variety of blues and purples maybe, and even add some white. You could try that out. But I think the pumpkin's an awesome way for them to practice using patterns. So yeah. Oh, I have grass here and not over there. That really bugs me. So I'm going to add a little bit more water over here and a little bit of green. And then I'm going to color it in with yellow. And I'm going to drop them on the ground. There we go. And voila. And then have them sign down in the corner that doesn't have any water on it, or they could sign right on top of the water if they wanted to. Boom. Okay. And that's it. So I hope that gives you clear enough directions and some ideas. If you have any questions, let me know. Okay, thanks.